Mike lives in Rothesay with his wife Laura, a fellow musician. And he's a former pastor who now works at Bayview Credit Union. And he has been named to participate in the showcase as a rising star at the 2010 East Coast Music Awards Discovery Stage. And that's next March, I guess, eh, Mike?
Yeah, March, that's right.
And his musical career started at the age of 6, when he was propped up on a piano stool behind a church pulpit to sing a song. Hello, Mike.
Yeah.
Just this short bio introduction to you. Thanks again a lot for coming in to play with us and
Thank
chat.
you, man. No, it's a privilege to be here. Thanks.
Now, before we chat, I want to actually go back to talking about the 6-year-old Mike. But first, I actually want to just ask you to talk about where Wonderfully Made came from. What's behind that song?
Yeah, well, it's about my beautiful wife, the love of my life, and you draw inspiration to write songs from all kinds of places. Sometimes, I don't know, the beautiful sunrise on the way to work or something in the morning. If you can get past the dreariness of having to go to work in the morning, as long as it's not Monday, I guess. Sometimes it can be from listening to a little baby, sort of coo and cuddle and so on. And in the Bible, there's a verse that actually says in the book of Psalms that we're fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And I was reading that one day and I thought, well, if there's anybody in my life that's a construct of God, kind of made by the heavens for me, it's got to be my wife. So I wrote this song about her called Wonderfully Made. And the first time I sang it to her, I said, I was singing it, and I was wonderfully made. And so I said, what do you think? And I was really pie-eyed, and everything. She said, you think I'm a wonderful maid? and I didn't get it. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Isn't that wonderful? And then, sort of projectiles flew and, sort of whatever was nearby. And
you were given added cleaning duties.
I was indeed, yeah. So I learned what it means to be a wonderful maid. But anyway, that's kind of where the inspiration came from, was actually sort of a biblical reference. So.
Mm-hmm. And how long ago did you write that song?
Just this year.
Just
all the songs in the EP are just from this year. So,
yeah.
So I mean, and that it's funny because that one is the one that really came the fastest, and it seems to be the one that people speak of the most, I guess. So, maybe they're not always good things, but people speak of it as long as they're not indifferent, eh?
And you've been married for what, 18 years?
Yeah, just over 18 years. It was 18 years in June. Yeah.
Wow, and a lot of couples, after 20 years to write a tribute like that to your wife is quite nice, eh?
Well, I'm paid well.
I'm into 3 now, and I'm sure I know I won't be able to write like that in 17 years, but I hope the feelings will all still be there.
Right on.
It's obvious in that tune that it's still there after 18 years.
Good,
yeah, that's excellent. Well, let's go back to the beginning. I have this image of this little boy on this piano bench, singing. So take us back to those beginnings.
Well, I don't know who first thought I could sing or who kind of identified it. I don't, I mean, I suppose I was just sort of I'll say gregarious because it sounds sort of sanctimonious to say that, but probably snotty was more more accurate. Kid, I was just, I was very, very social when I was a little kid and stuff. And somewhere along the way, somebody thought I must be able to sing. And so my folks, I guess, got me at the Wesleyan Church where I grew up, going over here in Milledgeville. Put me on the piano stool, piano bench or whatever behind the pulpit, and I remember singing loud and proud, and I guess confidence was never too much of an issue. I don't know if I blocked everybody out or what, but so anyway, probably the residue of that 6-year-old mindset remains with me.
So there's no performance anxiety in the 6-year-old. You just get up
not
there
usually. No, I don't think so. There wasn't for me. Certainly. I mean, if there was, when you're in your mid-30s, all those issues are supposed to start surfacing, and none of them have. So I guess that means I made it, eh?
So do you remember what you sang?
Oh yeah, certainly I do. Yeah.
What was
Sadly,
it?
I have a steel trap memory for minutia and nonsensical things. So you want to hear it? It was an old Sunday school song. I am a promise. I am a possibility. I am a promise. with a capital P. Isn't that great? I am a great big bundle of potentiality. Yeah, there you go.
And did you? That's awesome. And did you have?
Sadly, my
somebody
teachers could,
playing behind that, or was that just you?
Yeah,
up there?
there must have been a piano player. I don't remember. It might have been Marty Trafton. She was playing piano when I was a kid. So, sadly, my teachers could tell you I've never really measured up to that song. But
so take us a little bit further along on your path. At what point did you start, writing songs, playing?
Yeah, well, really, music. There's never really been a time in my life that I wasn't doing something with music, So when I was a kid, it was like Sunday school, musicals, and then it was choir stuff, and then in middle school and high school, I started, kind of getting into rock and roll and writing, trying to write songs and get into bands with a couple of good friends of mine. We would always be fooling around with music, and I remember there was a guy I used to meet with at lunchtime in high school, and we would sit and try and write lyrics. We thought, well, we're just going to force ourselves to write lyrics, and we would go up to the computer lab, I remember, and it was so long ago that there was only one room the computers were in. So, of course, now that people walk around with them in their brains, I think, but back then, it was the computer room, and we would try to write song lyrics. So yeah, that was kind of where it first started. Some of them were, well, I gave it the old college try, as we say. And I guess I don't remember any of those songs, which we're all grateful for, I'm sure. But nothing could top I Am a Promise that I'll do tonight, probably. So yeah, that's kind of where it started, I guess, later on in high school.
And before you worked for Bayview Credit and, tried to take your music to the next level, you were actually a pastor for a while.
Yeah, after high school, I went to seminary and started working in a church in the 90s. Through most of the 90s, I worked in a church here in the city and worked as like a youth pastor a lot, worked with kids and did a lot of outreach stuff. And so again, the music was really prevalent there. And I was a drummer too. I was a drummer when I was in high school. That was kind of the role. I was a singer and a drummer. I kind of fooled around with guitar a little bit. I never really got serious enough about it. And my buddy wanted to be a lead guitar player, so I got on the drums, and we thought we were ready to go. We were like in our white stripes, and we didn't even know it, see? And so in ministry, in church ministry, my wife and I would both sing, and we had kind of these sort of praise band things in the church, and we would play in those, and yeah, a lot of stuff in that time.
So what influence does your faith have in your music in terms of how your songwriting's evolved?
Well, I mean, it has an influence in my music because it's a part of who I am, And I guess my perspective is, look, somebody asked me, oh, so are you like a, crossover artist? Because I've heard that phrase, a number of times and stuff. And I kind of say no, because I feel like, well, I'm just who I am. I haven't really gone over to anything or come away from anything, I guess to be honest and not be disingenuous, as a person, for me, my faith is a very active part of my life, and so it's resident in the songs that I write, but it's not like an evangelical endeavor or whatever, I'm just trying to create art, I guess, create music, and be honest about it, and kind of, so my songs are sort of hopefully little bits of reflection on life and faith and struggle and love and crappy days and good days. Can you say crappy?
Yeah, absolutely you can.
Can you say it twice like I just did?
Say it twice.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
We have like a limit.
We have a limit. There's a cap.
So it's more or less an expression of who you are and what you care about.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in order for music to be really any good, in my opinion, it's got to be honest, And if it's contrived, then it kind of loses its genuineness. And so I'm at a point in life where I'm really looking to connect to other people's genuine insights and reflections in the music that they create. And when I think about art across the ages, it seems as though when it was sort of a kind of an unbridled, honest expression of a person's own insights and thoughts about life, that's when you've got masterpieces on your hand. And so I want to try to not create masterpieces. And so it's before me now. Nothing can stop me now. No, I just want to try to measure up to that same sort of open and honest sort of reflection in what I write. And so, you know, as a Christian person, I mean, my faith is bound to sort of influence my songwriting, you know. But it's, I mean, entertainment is, of course, the biz, you know, the industry or whatever, so, yeah.
Right, well, why don't we actually have you play another tune at this point? What would you like to play?
I will play a song called called "See You Know You Love You," and this is the last tune on the EP. I have another. I go to all these efforts to keep the commercial coffee cup out of the picture, and then I keep grabbing it to have a drink. I'm fighting a bit of a cold, so I appreciate your gracious ways. I missed that. So
we don't even notice.
Really? You didn't even notice? Oh, I never should have said anything about it. I'll hear about that later.
Maybe because my head's a little bit full, too.
Maybe you just weren't listening. Anyway.
Of course not.
We'll talk about that later. So this is called "See You Know You Love You."